Today's guest is someone who doesn't just talk about pushing limits. She lives them at altitude, in motion, and on stage. A world record holding professional skydiver, keynote speaker, a lifelong aviation enthusiast. Her story starts on a grass strip runway in her own backyard and stretches all the way to the edge of human performance and mindset mastery. From high-speed free fall to high-impact stages, she's built a career around one central idea, turning fear into forward momentum. We first connected at Sun and Fun, where even something as simple as a family scooter race became a snapshot of energy, connection, and passion that fuels everything she does. This is a conversation about untapped potential, strategic fun, and what it really takes to build unshakable confidence, not just in the sky, but in life. This is Melanie Curtis. All right, Mel. Thanks for joining the show today. I'm happy you kind of reached out. It was fun meeting you at Sun and Fun with, the little race that you put together.
I think we certainly need to give context for that.
Yeah, we'll get there. So let's kick off the questions here. You grew up, and you told me you grew up with a grass strip behind your house. You
That's
still
right.
take it off out of that grass strip now. What did normal life look like in that environment?
Yeah. Well, the grass strip is behind my dad's house. So my dad is a pilot, lifelong pilot. And so I grew up surrounded by aviation and had my first flight when I was 3 months old and just really was exposed to possibilities in the sky. And so even to this day, my dad flies a little Bush Cat, two-seater light sport. I believe that's what it's called, light sport aircraft. And it's super fun. I've even jumped out of that plane as well, which was like a really cool full circle moment with my dad where he just kind of took me up. I don't know, 3,500 feet, 4,000 feet or something, kicked me out. I rolled out and I landed in our backyard. Because obviously the skydiving portion of my engagement with aviation, that's where I have a ton of experience. And so I've just been around aviation in so many different capacities throughout my life and career. And it was, honestly, I'm so grateful that I grew up around planes, around those possibilities, because I think just as a young person, if you are exposed to something, you then get to open your young mind sooner because you simply know things exist. So that was true for me about aviation, but also about skydiving as well.
And did you know the exact moment when you went from being around aviation to having the aviation be a part of you?
I mean, I feel like it's just baked into me, only because it's so in my family and I've been around it so much. But yeah, for me, definitely, I was moderately interested in flying the airplane, but as soon as I made my first skydive, and this was also part of my growing up experience, is that my dad's best friend also was a pilot, also flew small engine aircraft, Cessnas, whatnot, out of our airport and neighboring smaller airports. And he and my dad basically decided to start a skydiving center, a drop zone at our small airport. So we have basically a small grass strip called Curtis Airfield. It's on a dead end road and it's basically my dad's house. And so they started a skydiving center and I was exposed to that. So you see people going through that first jump course and this and that, yada, yada, yada. But it was just fascinating, never being afraid in the airplane. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even really ever remember a time when I was afraid in an airplane, right? And so I was, in my first skydiving experience, definitely was afraid of jumping, but it was a notable distinction of riding up to altitude in the airplane, how that was such a comfortable environment for me. You know what I mean? But then when the door opens and you're like having to get out, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, I remember my first time skydiving. I think I was just all adrenaline the whole trip up there.
Oh, Oh yeah,
There
I was one and done. I did one jump and then I was fundamentally changed. And then every decision I made for the next 20 years was to how do I have skydiving in my life?
awesome.
Yeah.
So, what's one lesson that your dad's kind of told you that it plays now in your adult life?
Oh God, I could list a million of them. But I feel like what I often credit my dad with, and I could I could credit my dad with a lot of different things. But one of the things that really I can give to him is my work ethic. I am a very hard worker. I am not afraid of doing hard things. I am willing to stay the course on a thing that is hard to do, and as such earn the rewards that only come from that type of effort. So like my dad also is very entrepreneurial. He has been my entire life. He also was a lifelong career police officer. So he basically had these parallel interests in his life, and it was honestly a beautiful influence on me because I kind of went the traditional path originally. I worked in investment banking. I made a lot of money getting good at it, but I made a lot of money, but I spent it all because I was already obsessed with skydiving. I spent it getting good at skydiving such that I could go pro at 26 and really go even after that in 2010 really toward an entrepreneurial life. It wasn't something that was off limits to me because I saw that type of stuff in my family life growing up.
So your dad had the skydiving school already set up before you got into investment banking
Yes.
and
Yeah, I was
deciding.
a kid. I was a
Okay.
kid when they had the skydiving center. And so I grew up around that. But we also have a family slaughterhouse business. So, like, people during deer season will bring their deer to our family slaughterhouse if so it's like kind of not fun to be in the slaughterhouse as a young girl. You know what I mean? I'm not psyched to be like wrapping venison steaks and, making, I don't know, $3 a deer or whatever it was. You know what I mean? But you learn a lot about just responsibility, work ethic, earning money. And that was something I'm really grateful for.
So what made you get into, your dad's in aviation, there's a skydiving center there behind your house. You have all this lineage of hardworking. How did you decide to get into investment banking of all things?
Yeah, totally. Well, so my parents are divorced. And so I lived with my mom and my stepdad, visited my dad on weekends, that whole family, American family situation, which is very common, of course. And so I had these parallel influences. I did a really good job in school. I was a very high achieving person, played every sport, MVP, student council president, like all this stuff in the theater program, sang in like all the things. Very, very like high achieving person. And not just pathologically, definitely pathologically in the sense where how people high achieve because they don't want to be rejected and they feel like that's their access to love and all that. So yeah, some of that for sure going on. I mean, I could tell you all about my deep healing journey and therapeutic process. That's all stuff I share on my podcast. But that also concurrently with this also very innate, natural, true calling toward wanting to immerse in my life and really do things, really have experiences, really live to my edges. Like, again, me as a keynote speaker now, my profession now, like skydiving, world records. I've just done large scale art installations. The fact that I've been an entrepreneur for a gazillion years, I've written books. I have done so much stuff. And it's not because I'm just hoping that I'll be safe in the world and people will like me. It's that I really am driven toward that in a real way, and like genuine fascination about our human experience, how deeply we can connect, and the experiences that we can share. So all of it kind of connects in the big picture of things, but the investment banking came because my mom and stepdad, my just a collegiate experience, my initial experience out of high school was a very traditional path. I went to college, and then I was planning on getting a job that paid me good money, and I got this opportunity to work in an investment bank, and there you go. I'm making money, and I'm also spending it on skydiving, the alternative path that was calling to me.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to make money to have fun, right?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that's a pretty good decision you made.
Yeah. I tell people who ask me about pro skydiving, I almost always will advise them to get a job, which sounds like a terrible suggestion, right? Right. But I almost always will encourage them to make money some other way so that they can grow in the sport in the ways that they want, that they are excited. Because a lot of times people will become pro skydivers and either do first jump students and tandems and stuff like that. And that's great. Like, there's nothing that's awesome too. But what tends to happen in that trajectory of pro skydiving is that then people most of the time get burned out. They stop fun jumping. They kind of lose the love that motivated them in the first place. And so I think it's likely a more fulfilling path, probably because it's the way I went, but pay money through a job to gain skills that then give you a more expansive set of possibilities in your skydiving career if you do decide to go pro down the line.
Yeah, that's a great tip for anyone. I mean, it doesn't have to just pertain to skydiving. I mean, that's
Yep.
anything you want to have an airplane. You're gonna need a really good job to
Yep.
get that aircraft and get those hours
Yep. And maintain it, the
and
whole
maintain it.
thing. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. You hit pro at 26. Did you ever think you were gonna be start doing world records or?
No, man. Oh, dude, I could not have predicted my life. No way. That's a kind of like, it's like a beautiful, youthful ignorance. Like, I just didn't know what I didn't know. And I was, man, it's not just luck because obviously I did this. Like, I'm not taking away credit from myself, but in reflecting on my life, I feel like I am also, I don't know, kind of lucky that I didn't know that I was so young when I found it because I was unencumbered. I wasn't married. I didn't have children. And I accidentally ended up in this job that paid me enough money that I could really pursue this thing, you know? And so my youthful passion for it was I did not care how much stuff cost at all. I was like, this is happening. It wasn't even a thing. I was just like, kind of knew that I would figure it out, which isn't necessarily a good plan, right? Because I could have easily screwed up my life and gotten a lot of debt. And there were periods when I had a lot of debt. But I also was mindful of I'm going to rack up some debt competing in competitive skydiving, which was one of my early engagements in the sport. Get all coaching, go into the wind tunnel, travel. And then in the off season, I'll be still working and making my salary and I'll pay that down. And that's basically how I operated year after year in my competitive skydiving years. So it wasn't that I was irresponsible, but I was definitely like, this is not happening. I'm going to just figure this out. And I think that's a really worthwhile way to approach stuff as well if you are gritty enough to do the hard things that it may require.
So yeah, that's definitely you have to have the grit. You have to have kind of the guts,
Yep.
face those fears, just kind of do it.
Yep.
I always say, you do one thing that's makes you uncomfortable and, kind of push past it. For me, I've been doing it like 50 episodes now. Every one of these makes me
Exactly.
uncomfortable.
I love that.
I keep on doing it because I love connecting with people. I love to hear their stories.
Yeah.
And it's great. This year's been all about air shows and performers and parachute teams. So it just merged perfectly.
That's awesome.
You
And I
know,
am a part of a demonstration skydiving team now as well. I've done a lot of demonstration jumps. So, yeah, it was fun to see the performers at Sun and Fun. I'm always so, it's just, I respect I know what they're doing when I'm watching a skydiving demonstration show. So, I respect when they can nail the landing timed with the national anthem, for example. I know what it takes to fly a giant flag like that and deal with whatever wind conditions or whatever that you're, even just that equipment alone, jumping out of an airplane with that is no joke. So it's cool to cheer on other professionals making our sport look really good in an environment that appreciates that.
did you stay at Sun and Fun the whole time?
I know.
That whole
I
week?
was only there that one day that we got to meet, but it was awesome. I loved it. It was so much fun.
So did you see, I forget which day that was. It was Wednesday or Thursday, I forget. But did you see the Red Bull parachute kind
The
of
the
demo?
night show,
Yeah.
I did not. Sadly, I
Um,
missed it. We had to leave, but I was like, I know all those guys. Like those peeps are my peeps. Yeah, they're all my friends. I found them before, like after they did their like prep meeting. The
yeah,
with
the
the team,
pre-flight.
the prep team.
Yeah.
So I were texting. I was like, "Where are you guys?" And I was so happy. I found them right after they finished their meeting. We're like, "Oh my god!" Hugs. Took like 5 photos, and then they had to go. But I was like, "Oh, I'm so happy I saw my friends." It was great.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
So in a sport where the risk is real, there's a lot that can go wrong, and you have to make split second decisions.
yeah,
How do you define the difference between the fear and the danger of taking a jump or even
yeah,
competing?
yeah. That's a good question. I mean, this certainly applies to aviation. Anything with a mortal danger element. I think you have to inch into it and make sure you are learning and stepping into these spaces and experiences, these activities at levels that matches with your level of experience, which is not always easy to discern when we are new to an environment, right? I can't imagine you don't see this with young pilots thinking they know more than they do and putting themselves in scenarios that put themselves and others possibly at risk. Doesn't always end up in some incident, but it's definitely something you see in skydiving. And so I don't know if you've ever heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
It's a therapeutic concept, which basically, essentially, it means what I just described. A person who is overvaluing their skill level, thinking they are better than they are, and as such, putting themselves and others in danger. And so, yeah, I think talking about those things is important. It helps young people take on, really, as a leader, as someone who has a ton of skydives, 30 years of experience. I have 12,000 skydives, just to give you this a basic understanding of how much experience I have. It's important for people like me, people like the Red Bull team, people like anybody in a position of experience and leadership in skydiving needs to lead by with conservative approaches, such that the people who are looking to us as, oh, I want to emulate them because they're the proverbial cool kid or whatever at the time, you know what I mean? It matters so much that we are leading by that example. So other people coming up have that culture of conservatism relative to their approach precisely because it is difficult to discern the danger from the fear, the confidence from the capability.
Does fear still show up in your life after you've
Oh, yeah,
conquered?
man. Yeah, it depends, right? I say this a lot in my keynote speaking, as I totally talk about this. I talk about the world record that we set in 2022. It's an incredible vehicle for talking about fear, peak performance, teamwork, all kinds of stuff. You mentioned discomfort. I talk a great deal about discomfort in my keynotes as well. That's a main pillar of what you have to kind of get good at relative to accessing potential. But yeah, it depends on what I'm doing. So if I'm doing a skydive with my normal gear at a regular old skydiving center and I'm landing in a big open green field and the wind is lovely and perfect, I am not afraid. I'm having fun. It's just delightful. I'm flinging around in free fall with my friends, doing all the right things and respecting the activity, of course, but I'm not afraid. You know what I mean? Put me in a highly technical stadium skydive where there are wires that you can't see. You're exiting low. I mean, I did a stadium jump in Lumen Field in Seattle, which is like the NFL stadium in Seattle. And it was in front of thousands of people for like a famous person, like Megan Rapinoe's Jersey retirement ceremony. It was super awesome. Totally high stakes. We're getting out at the lowest possible altitude that's safe and admissible. We're exiting underneath airplanes taking off from SeaTac, right? So this is like and it's all timed for this like 45-second window. So it's like super high stakes, not to mention the danger element. So that requires an incredible amount of skill, an incredible amount of preparation, an incredible amount of like mental focus and a managing of your physiological and emotional state inside that high, like triggering peak performance environment. So in those environments, yeah, I'm freaking out, man. Like I have got to work to not be freaking out in that scenario.
Yeah, you have to have that mental fortitude to keep you going and almost try to control the adrenaline and
Yep.
the other emotions that come through. So doing
Absolutely.
that.
Breathing and interrupting your fight or flight response is crucial. If you don't have a breathing practice, and I think this is absolutely applicable to pilots, absolutely applicable to anybody doing something that activates our system, our fear response, we need to have that. And that's just one thing I could say, but that's one thing that's crucial is that breathing practice that literally interrupts that fear response and calms it down because of the length of our exhale comparatively to our inhale, like having that longer exhale. That is just a very simple tip. Just like breathe in and have a longer exhale, and that'll help start to calm your nervous system down a little bit at least.
Yeah, my background's in air traffic control, and I try to tell that to the new kids that are, I mean, they're
Yep.
old coming in. Like you need to relax. You need to think about what you're going to say beforehand, and you have to have that confidence that you know what exactly you're doing. You've read all the manuals, you read all the procedures. Now just use that knowledge and start learning how to
Yep.
do it.
That's the other thing that I do is like if I'm freaking out about something, like demonstration skydive is a very good example of this, where I'm like freaking out, my fear thoughts are trying to go crazy on me. Another thing that I'll do in addition to the breathing stuff is I'll center my mind on the basic skills where I know I have confidence. So I'll say to myself, I can land a parachute. Like I can. I can land a parachute. Like I am highly skilled. I have a great deal of confidence flying my parachute wing. I know I can land a parachute. So it's basically like that simple idea just helps again sort of ground me in. It's not all that other stuff, even though of course I've prepared for all that other stuff. I know where the wire is. I know where I'm supposed to go. I know all this detailed stuff I'm going to do. But in the end, it's like, I can fly a parachute. I can land a parachute. Yeah.
So you have all this confidence, you know what you're going to do, but not every jump turned out to be a world record jump.
Yeah, yeah, and
Before,
and things go wrong.
yeah.
Yeah, things
Has
things definitely go wrong.
has there been a failure or a setback where you've kind of course you've learned from it and now you've been able to, essentially have it being a growth factor and now
Yeah.
you've learned from that.
I mean, always so much, right? I mean, on the very like micro side of the house, if you talk about just going skydiving, I mean, I would be curious, honestly, what you would say in response to this as a pilot. I would guess it's similar, even though you have your totally perfect flight plan and this and that. I can't imagine there isn't like some stuff that happens on every flight where you're like, oh, that was, like just unexpected things. It doesn't have to be a big thing, but like most skydives don't go entirely according to plan. Like it's almost a rarity. Not to say in a dangerous way, but even just like, oh, that funny thing happened or oh, you went there or, that type of stuff happens a lot. Um, but as in terms of like a real like challenge, setback, plenty of those things. One of the things that happened, and this is more in my competitive arena, we had I was on a free fall competition team where we fly like belly to earth and there are four people building formations and we have a videographer like that films us and captures the points that we score in the time allotted for the competition from exit to that ending time. Anyway, you train for years and years to get the skills for that. You train for the entire season with those teammates, and you're really like shooting for a competitive outcome that levels you up in the sport, right? So you're aiming for this growth in the sport. You're aiming for glory and greatness and winning a medal. So all that stuff plays into it, right? That's connected to sort of like similar to world record stuff where we get attached to the outcome. We really want a specific outcome. We want to do really well. So there's all kinds of emotional triggers and stuff inside that. Anyway, this particular year, it was, God, it was so long ago now, but we had just one jump where our camera person sadly like kind of fell off the plane early and not in an unsafe way. That's fine in skydiving. But the problem competitively is that he missed like 10 of our points. And that's a lot of points to lose on one skydive. It basically, that one moment, like knocked us out of even remote contention for any medals or any like actual finish in the competition that would feel great to us. So it was just like this incredible letdown. You feel like your whole year is like wasted and just like it's so depressing, right? Right? So you are thinking, at least, and this is just my experience of as my younger self with less experience, I'm just devastated. I'm really devastated. I'm like, don't know where my career is going to go. This happened to be at a time in skydiving when vertical formation skydiving, where you're flying on your head or your feet, started to become a thing. And I remember seeing a team training in the wind tunnel. I saw somebody go from standing on the net in the wind tunnel, flipping over and flying head down. And I was just like, my brain exploded. And I was like, I'm going to do that. And interestingly enough, only because I had such a really, really challenging year. The other part of this particular team experience is I had one horrible teammate, like bad person. It was not awesome. And I just really wanted, like my other teammates, it was really not a good situation. We wanted to get away from him. Anyway, long story short, that experience of the challenging competition outcome and this sort of horrible teammate, it drove me toward what's called free flying, which is this vertical flying style. And I am so much more well known for that style of flying now. I have an entire like second half of my career. That's what the world record is, that style of flying. And I don't know if I would have gone that direction with such intentionality without having such a major breakdown in my other competitive lane.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, that one person, all those two people really
Yep.
changed that perspective for the future. Have
Yep.
you done any crew work?
I haven't, but I love my crew dogs. I love them so much. I don't like people touching my parachute. I'm like, we can fly really close. Like, I love what's called flocking,
Yeah.
where, like airplanes flying in formation. Skydivers can do the same thing with their parachutes, certainly in free fall, also with wingsuits and stuff. But yeah, I love doing that with parachutes, but I don't want you touching me. We can get close, but don't touch my stuff. You know what I'm saying?
So you're not like holding
Nope.
each other's arms and trying to
Nope.
do the
Nope.
formation?
I know, and trust me, I know a lot of people do that really, really well. I'm just like, that can be their thing, and I will cheer them on and be like, go you, you're awesome.
In your world record attempt, how many people were in that jump?
Yeah. The final world record, it was the women's vertical world record. We set it in 2022 and it was 80 women. So
Yeah.
80 women coming out of it was we were going for 100 and we ended up with 80. The largest formation we built was 96, but because we declared a 97, it wasn't a record. So it has
Wow.
to be specifically as declared on the diagram. Otherwise, it's not a record. And so the final official record is 80. And it's like, it's amazing. Yeah. I could say more about that, but 5 aircraft in formation. We're going upside down 200 miles an hour. Like, who does that? Come on, people.
Yeah, and you're not jumping at like a standard altitude of
Nope.
like 13,000, 14,500. What's the altitude you're jumping
Yep.
out?
Yep. So we're flying these planes in formation. And again, this is like a part of the bigger teamwork elements of world records is that the pilots go into it. The airplanes need to be affixed with oxygen, supplemental oxygen, because to your exact point, we're not jumping at a normal altitude. We're going all the way to 20,000 feet. So above 12,000 feet, we're breathing supplemental oxygen as we basically climb to altitude. And then when we get to altitude, we're still sucking on the oxygen. The yellow light comes on, the door opens. And then when the green light comes on, which is basically now it's time to exit, then we put our oxygen tubes down. Our systems are saturated with oxygen that we can get through that moment, not just the moment, but that time period between exit and once we free fall into the more oxygen rich air, which doesn't take that long. So it definitely works, but you have to beware of hypoxia. That on a world record attempt in 2013, I got hypoxic, and that was one of the main reasons I retired from world records in 2013, but then came out of retirement very specifically, deliberately for the record in 2022, because it was such a unique opportunity to champion women and girls in the world to take up space. And certainly in these male dominated spaces, aviation I know is still highly male dominated, so
Yeah.
it's like nice to be representing possibilities for women and girls.
Yes, definitely. I try not to. I mean, I'm one of three children, right? I have two sisters. I'm always
Yeah.
trying to encourage them, like, do something that's one going to make you really happy.
Yeah.
If it's going to help someone else, cool, do that. I have my youngest sister actually tried out for the fire department.
Oh,
So
awesome.
she went through training. She went and, did all this stuff in college. She got picked up, then she got, something happened in training. It's super hard. Her class was like 125 people. She was the
Yeah.
only female in that class.
It's incredible, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what I think's another thing that helped me growing up is that I was, how they say, I don't know if you ever heard this, but how they say about like a fish, like you say to a fish, you like go, oh, the water's nice. The fish swims away and is like, what's water? Like he does it. He doesn't know what water is because he just grew up around it, right? Just that's all he knows.
Yeah.
And so that was sort of me with aviation and even skydiving, both, is that I didn't quite even get it that it was like male dominated. You know what I mean? I was just like in it. And so I never, as a young person, really never had awareness to or felt limited as a woman in those spaces because it was normal to me to be in those spaces. You know what I mean? So once I learned that not all women have that experience and that it actually is helpful for them to see someone like me or other women that are, the not necessarily the token woman, for God's sakes. Hopefully it's more than that. But, showing up and being represented, I think that's a really, really good thing for both aviation and skydiving, both.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, more women doing, I mean, aviation's amazing. Firefighting is
Yeah.
amazing. More women to get into and kind of disrupt
Yeah.
the whole mindset of, oh, you got to be a guy to do this. You don't have to
Yeah.
be a guy to do it.
Totally, man. It's so
You could just,
true.
anyone can do this. It doesn't have
Yep.
to be male, female. I mean, if you have your
Yep.
mind to it, you could do it.
That's so true.
When did you decide that, you've done these record attempts, you're a pro skydiver. When did you decide to be a keynote speaker?
Yeah, it's such a weird thing, right? God, the pro skydiving is so weird. That's what's it's honestly helpful. It is a huge reason why I am positioned really strongly to be a keynote speaker. The first keynote I got hired to do was in 2009. So this is a long time ago. But I didn't get it that keynote speaking could be a career for a long, long time. So I had done like a stunt job for in a Canadian insurance brokerage where I wore this hidden rig system and I looked like a soccer mom wearing pearls, kind of falling in free fall, like blissfully. I had to have this like contented smile on my face, the whole thing. And I was landing in the like brand blanket. So it was sort of like one of their, I don't know, branding things. And so I did also the high fall stunt. So it was skydiving and it was falling off like a 40-foot scaffolding into a bag. But like what's interesting about that is that in that sort of small moment where you're falling toward the bag, you have to lean back just enough that you hit it flat on your back. And then you have to smile because that was the shot they wanted, right?
Yeah, that was that message they wanted.
Yeah. So I got my first job then, but then when I went into my entrepreneurial life, I realized this is sort of a longer story, but I was in this pro skydiving thing, loving it, very, very happy, running the events and marketing at a drop zone in Southern California, just getting paid a salary to coach my friends, have fun. And it was just this really unbelievable life. I could never, like I said earlier, could never have predicted even that chapter of my life and how wonderful it was. But there was an intuitive part of me that knew eventually that wasn't going to be enough for me, that I was going to need more. And again, really condensing that story, I ended up finding life coaching and coaching and personal and professional development. And I was really interested in that because of my calling to grow, to have more experiences, to access potential. Like all of that is very threaded through my story. Yeah. So it's just, I don't know. I feel like I'm just waxing poetic here, but that's a big part of it.
What core message do you find going, do you find coming back again and again when you're on stage?
Yeah, well, like I said, what I talk about from a keynote perspective is that how do we access these real far edges of our potential? So people who are I'm hired a lot by insurance companies and financial firms. That's kind of where I focus my outreach, only because definitely get hired in women-centric spaces as well, modeling and being this empowered, strong woman who has a strong voice in the world, who is calm and confident, taking up space and being heard, all those things, right? But why the finance, insurance is that I have history in that. In my career, I started investment banking, like we talked about. It's also male-dominated spaces where like a powerful woman is a disruption, as it were, is welcomed. It's also, I'm a non-industry speaker, so I'm the person that is infusing this like high energy with a story that is completely divergent from what they do day to day. But to your question, what is the common thread? Is we talk about. So I'm like, okay, what is accessing potential? That sounds all great. It sounds memeable, but what does that even mean, right? So we talk about what blocks us from our potential. And what I teach around fear, I teach around avoiding discomfort, and I teach around autopilot, our habits. So those are the things that block us. And then the three amplifiers, that how do we then amplify our accessing of these far edges of what we're capable of? I talk about our support systems and how crucial they are. Like, it is not just I'm going to be some cool world record holder and I've done it all myself and nobody helped me. Like, you can't perform out there without support. So that I talk about intuition and how that really is crucial relative to decision making in both micro and macro scenarios, whether it's a life decision or a situational relational decision. And then lastly, I ground it all in humanity, and I talk about deeper healing, because we can talk about up and to the right all day long, and it's fun and energizing, and I'm a super intense person. Not everybody's into that, but some people are really into that, right? But I can't be as free and as powerful if I'm ignoring the parts of myself that need care, that need that healing, that need that love. And so I know that that's sort of, it lands because all of the intensity and the up and to the right stuff is also very real. And I can speak about it with vast authority. But then I'm like, okay, that's all the fun stuff. But now this too.
Yeah. And that's great. That kind of leads into this question that I have. You've built your philosophy around these key pillars,
Right.
for breakthrough success. How did those pillars work together to create not just short-term wins,
Yep.
but lasting confidence and momentum over time?
Yeah. Have you ever heard the term type 2 fun?
Yeah.
So you know it. I
Yeah.
love that. I figures you would know it because you're in. Yep. I love it. And I'll explain it for people who don't know what it is. But in short, type 1 fun is stuff that's fun while it's happening, like dancing, laughing, dinner with friends, stuff like that. Type 2 fun is stuff that's only fun after it's over. So like doing hard things. So what, Oscar, you said earlier, discomfort. So that's when I'm talking about discomfort, I'm talking about type 2 fun. The only way, and this goes back to like my dad and the work ethic and following through over a longer period of time, that's a non-negotiable. Like, if you really want to access potential, it's not a short-term thing. You got to iterate over time. You got to be committed over years of your life to the things you are interested in pursuing. And you got to take action and execute, right? And that is hard to do. And so as such, the other thing that matters, I literally just put a post up on my Instagram about this very thing this morning. And I highly recommend people follow me on Instagram, by the way, because there's a lot of nonsense there. It's stupid. Lots of dumb comedy. Oscar, you can attest.
We can get there.
But yeah, that level of effort, that level of iteration and action and execution is only sustainable if you have a system and skills in recovery and rest, and you understand as a peak performer, as an A player, that is also non-negotiable. That you can't look at rest and recovery and be like, oh, they just can't hack it. They're lazy. They're not hustling. No. Long-term sustainable badassery has those skills involved.
Yeah, I think there's a type 3 fun out there. You said
Yes.
type 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Type 3 is that fun it's happening instantly and it just keeps on rolling after you've done it. And I kind of go back to, being invited to do an aerobatic flight and then be like, okay, well,
Nice.
that's kind of cool. Let me try it, see where that goes. And it's super fun and kind of you know, it kind of plays with your nerves a little bit when you're doing it. But then it's fun after
Undeniably.
you think about it and you start,
Yep.
reliving those moments even after. And I mean, it's been about a year. It's still fun kind of going over
Ugh,
it, bringing those photos,
totally.
just reliving that moment kind of keeps that drive going so you can do that
Yep.
in the future.
Absolutely. And it opens your mind to try other things that you otherwise would not have even contemplated as possible for yourselves. I talk about that too, about just like the blinders on our mind when we do something like that. It takes those blinders on our eyes and just like just opens it a little bit more so we can just see a little bit further out. I did this, didn't think I could do this, but I did this thing. Maybe I could do that thing. It compounds. If you know anything about like, investing, and I don't know much about investing and all that stuff, despite my financial industry experience, but like compounding interest, you hear about compounding interest where you invest, but then you start to, that's why it like gets so much more exponential as you get down the line. The same is true relative to life experiences and skill building, is that it exponentiates what we are able to even consider and what we are willing to try.
Yeah, so we kind of opened up with this scooter race at Sun and Fun.
That's right, the scooter race.
Scooter race. That's the type 2 fun. We're just gonna remember that for
For
as
me, that
long as
is
we
type 1 fun, man.
yeah, for
That
you
is
that's type
so
1.
funny. In while we're Go ahead, Oscar. Go ahead.
So that scooter race at Sun and Fun, I mean, it's fun. If you had to be there to really take it all in, but it captures a unique energy with you and your family.
Yeah.
Is that strategic fun? Does that allow you to kind of balance the mind a little bit and refresh of
Yeah. I love this question. So, strategic fun, the way that I position it relative to my keynote speaking, that to me is talking about type 2 fun and the reframing around discomfort. So if people are in avoidance of discomfort, they will never be able to access the far reaches of their potential. They will not be able to do it because discomfort lives in those expansion experiences. You can't avoid it. So you have to have a relationship with discomfort. And I'm not meaning it in like some memeable, lame way. That said, this is not necessarily required for people to achieve at high levels or whatever, but me specifically, and I do think this is something people should reflect on for themselves, but I think also that hard stuff is way easier to do when we take steam out of the pot with nonsense, hilarity, making some jokes. I think a lot of people think that if somebody is like joking around, they're not serious. Anybody who knows me knows I am as serious as they come about the things I want to do. My commitment to my goals and my follow through and my execution and my whatever, that is mutually exclusive to my ability and my desire to have laughs and fun and friendship and that version of connection and shared experience in my life. So to give you guys, the people listening, the scooter race, if you've been to Sun and Fun, you know that there's these like carts, these like motorized carts you can buy, right? Or you can rent for the day. So my whole family rented them. It was 5 of us. And my dad got us matching like Hawaiian shirts. So we looked like this comical, nonsensical entourage, just like buzzing around Sun and Fun on our little carts and our matching outfits. Hilarious, right? And because I have an Instagram channel that I do a lot of stupid, ridiculous comedy on that's in service to this conversation, I said, yo, fam, we got to make a slow-mo, hilarious, dumb video of ourselves on these scooters, like looking like we're super, super cool. And it's so, the final video is so funny. But that's how Oscar and I met. And we met this other amazing pilot that was like such a sport. And it was just really fun. But anyway, to answer your question in more concise language, I think the lightness and levity makes it more sustainable as well. And I think people should lean into having more fun when they can.
100%.
Yeah.
I agree with that. And I always make fun of myself. And it's, if you've kind of gone to my page, you know, every year, I've been doing the podcast for 3 years. So every year I try to do something different. Last year in October for Halloween, we had like a spooky episode.
Oh,
like my
cool.
wife is into like ghost stories and everything. And then this year for April Fools, I came up with this, you know, parody golf. I don't know, Chet, he's on my page somewhere. You got to find it.
I will.
But it's like
I will. I'll chase it down.
The national, regional, virtual golf championship. It's so ridiculous. I love it. And it was the funnest thing that we did. And my brother-in-law was involved and he's doing something in the background. I had no idea, but my wife was cracking up being my cameraman so much. That I had to tell her to be serious just so I could get my lines through. And it was amazing. I loved it.
That's one thing I say a lot. That's a core message of mine, a core tenet I live my life by, but that I also teach. And I do it. I say this quite deliberately. I say, do ridiculous things. And I mean it both from a comedy perspective in terms of enjoying our lives, but I more mean it in the conversation around accessing potential. Do ridiculous things is like iteration over time, just like slowly opens the blinders, right? Whereas like skydiving, great example. Skydiving is ridiculous. It is so far out of the realm of possibility of what we can conjure as a thing that should happen, that when we do it, and for me, I was terrified. So when I landed for my first jump, wasn't dead. It's almost like it hits, it like rocks those doors open, a ridiculous doing something we are like, there's no way. Like when that is at play, there's a lot more potential to open our mind with ferocity, with speed. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely makes sense. I mean, it makes sense to me.
Yeah. Fair enough. Right.
So when everything is stripped back and you have your world records, you have your achievements, your titles, what does that untapped potential mean to you personally today?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. You know, I haven't. So here's a good example. Like skydiving is just the most expansive example in my life to date, right? In terms of a physical sort of external to me thing. But the last jump that I made was in July of last year. So I haven't jumped in almost a year and I'm okay with it. Why? Because I am drawn and driven to doing other stuff. Like the growth part of me is very alive and well. She is leaning hard, like I am leaning hard into my Instagram comedy. I'm leaning hard into my like varied and different impact as a keynote speaker. So it's I'm hustling to meet people and make connections with event planners and HR people that might bring me in for an offsite, like that type of stuff. And I don't love sending emails, don't get me wrong, but that's like the kind of gritty type 2 fun part of it where I don't want to do this, but I want to grow in this way and have these other experiences that are attached to this kind of unfun part that is part of opening that door. So that for me is what untapped potential looks like now. On top of, man, I've been through a really like deep healing journey over the last, decade plus. And that's been a huge part of my life as well, and a huge part of my advocacy work for just mental health, deeper healing, that type of stuff. I could tell you a lot more about that, but that's kind of where it lands for me today.
Yeah, and we can go on and on. I love this energy we have together. We could totally go on. I could talk to you about maybe 6 other different
I
subjects,
know.
but we got to keep it. We got to keep it short.
Totally.
So, if you had one thing to tell yourself, the young lady that was living up
Mm.
next to a runway, a grass strip,
Oh.
what would it be that one thing that you would tell yourself?
Oh, God. I think I wouldn't change anything, right? Because I really am so grateful for my life as it is. But I'm going to answer the question, but I want to caveat it with I genuinely I'm a person who really doesn't live in a state of regret. I believe there are no mistakes. I really actively and intentionally take things that, even if it's really bad stuff, I take it and I try to learn and grow. Like, I wouldn't certainly want to invite anything painful or traumatic to happen to me or anybody, but more just to say, if that has happened or something, you know what I mean? I grow from that. So what I would tell that girl is, she's that young me is such an emotional little person. She's got such a soft center, and she has so much feeling, right? That I would tell her, like, I love you. I would be like, I love you. Like, we're okay. I would be like, we're okay. You know what I mean? Like, so that she didn't feel as scared on the path. You know what I mean? I would just want her to feel a little bit less alone on the path. So I would be like, I love you. I got you. We got this. We're good. Let's go. Let's fucking go. Pardon my French.
Yeah. Every there's I think every show there's an F bomb thrown in there.
Okay,
It's still
good.
PG.
Yeah, I'm
It's
like,
still
oh.
PG-13. We're still good. And that is one thing that I don't hear it a lot, between me and my wife, yeah, we say I love you all the time.
Yeah.
But me and my sisters, we try to encourage each other, and we're always behind each other trying to push
Yeah.
forward and keep that encouragement going, because
Yep.
we never heard that so much from our parents. You know what I mean?
Totally.
So, reminder to everyone, tell your loved ones that you love them. Tell your
Yeah.
friends that you love them, and keep them in your thoughts.
Absolutely.
Where can people find your podcast? And
Yeah.
where can they find this comedy show that you have on
I
Instagram?
know. Well, so all of my stuff is at melaniecurtis.com. That's MELANIE, Curtis, CURTIS.com. And my Instagram is MelanieCurtis11. So for any Spinal Tap fans out there, the amp that goes to 11, that's what that joke is about. It's sort of in line with my Hilla Peak performance thing. But yeah, Melanie Curtis 11 on Instagram. Anybody who's like a, LinkedIn person, I'm on there as well. But yeah, melaniecurtis.com has everything. My podcast is linked through my website as well. And yeah, thank you so much for having me on, Oscar. This has been such a just fun, cool thing.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. I really love talking to you, and I can't wait to try to find a keynote where you're speaking somewhere. Hopefully
Yes, I
you
would
make it
love
down to
that.
Miami.
Oh, I would
Or
love it. Oh my God. We're manifesting that. At
yeah,
some point I'll be doing a keynote. You'll
come
be
on.
in the area, and we'll be able to like in-person selfie it, send it to my dad and be like, Dad, check it out. Sun and Fun
Or
2026.
Sun and Fun
That's
2027. They're
true.
always
That's
looking
true.
for
I got to
speakers,
get current. I got to get current skydiving and be able to do some of the demos on the show calendar.
or just be a speaker. Be
That's
at their
true.
at
Oh
their hangar.
God. Oh my God. If they do that, yeah, I would
Yeah,
love that. It's a
we'll do
great
that.
idea. Oh my God. See, we're manifesting
Yeah,
already.
we're doing it. All right, thanks, Mel.
Thank you, Oscar.
All right, have a good one. All right, that's a wrap for this episode. Make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe or follow button at the top of your platform to get the new episodes and listen to the past ones too. Until the next episode, see ya.